Kitchen Nightmares, Equestrian Misadventures, Chapter 13. End of the First Nightmare, Part 2. The next day, convinced that Zesty and Flomb are now fully aware that change is their only option, Chef Ramsay goes into stage 1 of his plan, which includes changing the bland drab decor of Zesty's restaurant. With Celestia's help, Gordon and his team gathered a few ponies while Zesty and the rest of the staff were out, to begin tearing down the interior of the restaurant. They worked tirelessly, conversing with each other on how to come up with a design for the eatery that would not only actually draw in ponies instead of pushing them away, but also reconfiguring parts of the kitchen to better suit Flomb and the rest of the staff. Spike, Pinky, and Princess Luna arrived to assist the group with the reconstruction of the restaurant. Their efforts ultimately had mixed results that set them back a few hours. Spike started helping out well enough when he did some of the painting and polishing. However, when he tried to use the paint mixer to get the right color of the walls, the machine proved to be too powerful for the minuscule Drake, as it shook him like an earthquake and launched his head through the ceiling. Luna only made things worse when she tried hammering nails by throwing the hammers at the wall as if they were axes. Gordon's crew had to duck and dodge just to remain safe from the overzealous attempts at what she thought was helping. Twilight even had to bring up her strongest magic shield when Luna was accidentally introduced to the staple gun and hot glue guns brought over by Gordon's crew. Gordon himself even had to join in when she brought her new immortal pet possum Tiberius, who tried scurrying into the kitchen when nobody was looking. Pinkie Pie's efforts to assist with the reconstruction were no less problematic. Trying to paint the whole restaurant in a short amount of time, she dunked her mane in a paint bucket and then began using it like a large brush as she dragged her head against... Trying to quickly paint the whole restaurant in a short amount of time, she dunked her mane in a paint bucket and then began using it like a large brush as she dragged her head against every inch of the wall and ceiling, only to realize afterwards she had used the wrong color. It took Twilight, Applejack, and Rarity together to tie up the trio and set them down in a closet on timeout until the night was done to get them to stop. "Was that really necessary?" Gordon asked, concerned. "Isn't that like unlawful imprisonment?"
"Details, darling. Besides, they'll be fine."
Rarity brushed off.
"Besides, Twilight's owl said Spiky has always wanted to be tied up by me and thrown into a dark room."
Gordon struggled to hold in a belly laugh as he shoved his fist into his mouth, while Twilight felt her face heat up and turn brick red. Rarity simply looked at the two in utter confusion. At least 12 hours passed, as Gordon finally completed the new design of the restaurant with the help of Rarity, Applejack, and Twilight, who assisted the human and pony crews with the construction. The next part to come would be to bring Zesty and the staff back in to see how it fits to the owner's liking. Bringing Zesty and the rest of the staff back into the restaurant with blindfolds across their face, Gordon prepared to unveil the result of all of their hard work. "Good morning."
Good morning, Chef.
They all replied. "Now, before we begin today, I'd just like to welcome you all to the new and improved Subtilité du Goût. We have all worked tirelessly the past night and day turning Zesty Gourmand's restaurant into something that will draw more business and ponies to you."
"And y'all couldn't have done it without us, Gordon. Don't you forget it."
Applejack said proudly. With a signal from Gordon, Rarity gently pulled off their blindfolds, allowing them to see what had changed. Twilight smiled as she witnessed all of the wide range of positive emotions emitted by the entire staff. Even though Zesty's reaction wasn't extravagant, she could tell that she was impressed with her work.
"Oh my goodness!"
Senko exclaimed. Are you seeing this?" Flom said excitedly.
"Oh, this is great!"
Lemon Drop said proudly.
"It is quite different,"
Zesty admitted with a vague hint of gratitude. The restaurant was completely different from the ground up. Old tables have changed out for new ones, the curtains had been removed in place of different colored ones, and even dining ware had been changed out. The interior color design had gone from stale white everywhere to cream-colored walls and a sharp granite ceiling. Tiny porcelain pots carried various herbs, lining one of the walls, giving it a fresh, inviting feel. Even the sterile white floor tiles had been changed out for slightly darker tan ones. "Look at how not only bright and refreshing, but also comforting and inviting everything is," Gordon proclaimed. "I love it, Chef," Flom said gratefully. "Gone is that simple white color, and we've freshened up the walls, the ceilings, that beautiful cream color, and that beautiful granite dark gray that makes a stunning contrast."
"This is all just wonderful,"
Gone are those hideous tables in the middle, replaced with centralized, beautiful and rustic but clean glossed white oak tables, courtesy of Miss Applejack and Rarity. Rarity and Applejack seemed to beam with pride as they received compliments from every member of the restaurant staff.
Making tables seems to be an unusual talent of that charming brother of yours, Applejack.
Rarity added.
Along with archery, for some odd reason. Yeah. He inherited Uncle Pineapple's skill for carpentry, too. I got Aunt Fuji Apple's knack for making wooden stuff look pretty.
She shrugged.
Maybe later I ought to tell you how Uncle Pine got stranded on an island for 5 years. I think he owns some big multi-billion bit company now or something. It's been a while since I've seen him. Well, I can safely say that they look great, Applejack.
Twilight complimented. The next thing Gordon drew their attention to was something in the back by the entrance to the kitchen. And over there, we got a little bit creative, adding something to catch every pony's eye in a welcoming way. We decorated the wall in cherry wood cutting boards.
Typically, I would never sully myself in such a manner to compliment somebody else's work. But this is all splendid, I must say.
Zesty admitted to the interviewer.
I'm just speechless on the new condition of my restaurant, and as many ponies could tell you, I'm never speechless.
Gordon then came over to the front counter by the entrance to something that was covered by a large cloth. Twilight seemed to be excited as he approached the counter. When I first arrived here, this area in particular has been heavily suffering, especially since your POS system, or lack thereof, is primitive, even by this world's standards. What I'm about to show you is unique. This will be a game changer, because now you have a state-of-the-art, brand new POS system made by Princess Twilight here herself. When he pulled off the cloth, it revealed what appeared to be a silver pony typewriter with special prompts for different orders in the restaurant.
May I take over for a moment, Chef?
Twilight asked respectfully. Gordon gave her the floor, allowing her to bask in pride and explain her invention.
This pony typewriter is inspired by the computer POS systems I witnessed back on Earth.
Twilight explained.
And while we are prohibited from bringing any sort of human technology over in an effort for us to discover and invent such technology ourselves, that doesn't mean we can't draw influence. I used AutoPen's typeset spell and Inkwell's mind-to-hoof writing spell as a base with a bit of tinkering thanks to Ponyville's resident machinist clockwork. I attached a compact printer to the typewriter so that you can make orders and run them back to the kitchen with ease.
When she was finished, she stepped back and motioned for Gordon to continue. With it, you can also track your inventory. You can adjust your costs, what you'll need to hit on a weekly basis, and trust me, chefs will be so much less of a confusion in your kitchen. This thing is going to be an absolute dream for you, Gordon proclaimed. Aren't you all excited? The entire staff exploded into affirmatives, and applause as pleasure at their hard work reverberated throughout the room. For a moment, Gordon and Rarity could even swear that they saw Zesty Gourmand herself put a smile upon her face.
This is absolutely amazing!
Lemon Drop exclaimed.
Thank you so much, Chef! My restaurant definitely looks a lot better than it has in quite a long time. I suppose it took another actual expert in my craft to remind me of what true perfection looks like.
Zesty admitted.
And I am quite thrilled with how it turned out.
Next, Gordon took the group over to one of the tables, where there seemed to be an assortment of dishes lined up for all to eat. Twilight and Applejack blushed when their stomachs began to loudly growl like a pair of tigers.
Oh, girls, try to stay composed and keep your stomachs under control,
Rarity whispered. Now, take a look at the Subtilité du Goût's new menu, he stated. If you please, Miss Gourmand, take a menu and pass them along. Zesty simply nodded as she grabbed the stack of menus with her mouth and passed them over to the others while Gordon drew their attention to the first delectable dish. The first course, steamed mussels. Fresh. When the shells are opened, they're cooked, and you send them out. Simple as that. That is how you should be serving a bowl of mussels.
Amazing. Really amazing,
Lemon said. The next one we have is a nice cavatelli with sauteed broccoli and garlic sauce. Light and creamy. Next to that, we have a nice rich tomato soup with a basil pesto drizzled across the top and served with a slice of toasted sourdough bread. Then, you have a nice pan-seared salmon served on a bed of risotto and sprinkled with tomatoes and parmesan and drizzled with an olive oil vinaigrette.
Oh, everything here looks pretty good.
Applejack beamed.
I wouldn't mind shoving all that down my gullet myself.
Now, there are a few more dishes that I want to go through before I have you try to make them yourself, Gordon instructed. We have a long day ahead of us preparing for the dinner rush tonight, and I want you all to be more than ready. First, though, I have something special to do. I want to give Zesty Gourmands the chance to enjoy the food that I have created for your restaurant. At first, I didn't know how to properly do that, until Miss Twilight Sparkle here hit me with a rather interesting idea. Twilight stepped forward as she pulled a large silver chain necklace with a small peridot hanging off the edge of it.
When you told us that you were a super taster, I went through a couple of books on the ways that we might be able to help you or incorporate your tastes into your menu, and I came up with this.
Twilight said proudly as she displayed the piece of jewelry to the mayor.
What might that be, Your Majesty?
Zesty asked curiously.
It's an enchanted necklace with the specific purpose of diminishing your taste sense to a point where you can taste normal food. It took some doing to come up with it, but I worked it out with the help of an old professor of mine here in the city. Peridot in Equestria has a unique effect on ponies' senses when enchanted a certain way.
With her magic, she stringed it around Zesty's neck as she motioned for her to eat one of the dishes that had been set out on the table. Zesty reluctantly stepped forward as she inched towards a plate carrying a seared salmon and proceeded to pick up a fork and gingerly cut and stab a piece of the salmon off. She picked the fork up and slowly inched it towards her mouth as she smelled it carefully before letting it go into her mouth. Everyone waited impatiently to see what her reaction would be as she started to chew. Her entire mouth seemed to be shocked with a million pleasant sensations as the enchanted peridot did its job and kept her condition in check. She looked around the room as she continued to chew the food in front of everyone present, tears of joy beginning to stream down her cheeks as she began to smile, a face that Flomp has not seen on his mother in many, many years.
It is wonderful. Truly wonderful,
Zesty stated happily. The room burst into applause as Twilight beamed with accomplishment at her magical invention's success with helping Zesty. You know, even though Zesty has been bitter for a very long time, she definitely deserved this. She really did. Anyway, I'd love to give a very special thank you to my scrumptious donators. Top donator, Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, Dresdon, dospo, RuneScythe 9852, CourierCruz CI, Delta Omega, Ryanny Dragonwolf, Dwight Cornel, Gagi, Secret Moon, Tal Rasha, Starlight Glimmer, David D. Sanchez, Trey, Pokekiller Zach, Soul Dragon, Dak Britton, and Joe Piercy. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one.